So hello everybody, welcome to this live session where I'm going to talk about this topic, beating worry and looping thoughts. I'm going to share 6 strategies to help you do that. Let's explore why it's useful to explore this issue. First of all, anxiety and worry are exhausting. I know because I used to be a very anxious person. If you have just joined me, just say hi in the chat, let me know you can see me, hear me. Number 1, anxieties and worry are exhausting. Number 2, it hinders our recovery. If we're in a state of anxiety and stress, that slows down the body's attempts to heal. And the third point, which I'll get into in a moment, is that whatever we practice, we get good at. So I did find when I was an anxious person that because I worried about stuff a lot, I ended up worrying about more and more things. So Samantha says hi. Hi Samantha, nice to have you with us. If you've just joined, do say hello. Ines says hello. So you're my regulars. Thanks for coming. You've come for the last few weeks, I know. So I put this question to people in my Facebook group. Is worry, looping thoughts an issue for you? And I got a few comments. So one was, when I have increased symptoms, I'm in a dip. My brain hooks onto any thought. It can be from anything from what did I do wrong 5 years ago to something that could possibly go wrong for those I love. And I start to ruminate. It seems that no matter how hard I try to clear my mind or think logically about it, it doesn't go away. And it can be so uncomfortable and overwhelming. So sorry to hear that's your experience. And Samantha said, okay, that was me. That was, okay. Thanks for letting me know, Samantha. I didn't make the link between Sam and Samantha. So we'll talk a bit more about that. And another comment I got was, the constant one is, what if I don't recover? Okay, how come some people recover and others don't? Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a sore throat, but I thought I'd do this live session anyway. So we'll see how it goes. So as I say, sorry to both of you for that being your experience, okay? I'd like you to consider this quote that I came across yesterday. Excuse me. Worrying is like praying for what you don't want, okay? So, what is it you need to understand in order to break those patterns of worrying and looping thoughts? So, first thing to understand is that one of the challenges of having a health condition where your activity is limited, maybe your capacity for movement, if that applies to you, is that movement exercise is a way of discharging nervous energy. And so, before I learned all this stuff about mind and body, I did a lot of physical activity and I would cycle to work and back. And that probably did help, calm me down to some degree. And that's obviously, if you can't do that, then that's a resource that you have less access to. So we'll explore some strategies for that. Second thing that's useful to understand is you have in your brain what's called the default mode network, or DMN. Okay, this is something that has been the research on this has been evolving over the last 20 years or so. So Samantha says, that makes sense to me as I have been bedbound for 2 years. Yeah, so that's something to consider, okay? So we will explore some strategies around that, okay? So let me talk a bit about the default mode network, or DMN. So the DMN is a network of brain regions, and it's active when our mind is at rest. So when we're daydreaming, when we're kind of just in a reflective mode. Now, what can happen in trauma, especially chronic or repeated trauma, this often leads to an overactive DMN, okay? So the default mode via the DMN can become a source of looping anxious thoughts. And we know, for example, when we're in trauma, that activates the fight, flight, freeze response. And in that state, the DMN can be in a heightened mode. There is some good news, and I'll share that in a moment. Third thing to understand is neuroplasticity. Whatever we practice, we get good at. So for a long time, I was practicing anxiety, and that's why I got really good at anxiety. Behind me, I've got a piano. I spend more time now practicing the piano. I get good at that. So we can, whatever we practice, we can get good at, whether it's something that's limiting or helpful. Okay, it's really important that we understand that. So, as I mentioned, we can get good at catastrophizing, becoming more anxious, and the anxiety can elevate. The next thing we need to understand is that our thoughts are patterns of neural activity. Okay, we can either energize our thoughts, make them stronger, or we can diffuse them. Okay, so we need to pay attention to what we're focusing on, what meaning we're giving to what we're focusing on, the feelings we're generating, and the action that we take as a result. So FMFA, focus, meaning, feeling, action. So let's say someone's got a symptom, they're focusing on it, they're saying to themselves, the meaning is, I'm never going to get well. Okay, now they're going to feel anxious. If they feel anxious, what is the likelihood that the next thought is going to be not very helpful? Okay. Next thing we need to understand is we have these different parts of ourselves. Two core parts we have, which we talk about in Mind Body Reconnect, is that your thinking brain has the problem solver part and the problem creator part. Now, the problem creator is trying to keep you safe, but it's operating in a very limited way. It's often patterns that we've learned at a young age. Not always, but often we learn these patterns. So, for instance, I learned at a young age to be quite anxious. I think, bless him, my dad was quite an anxious person. And so I learned that from him. So that was an old pattern. And so I developed beliefs which are now outdated, but those beliefs, maybe I'm not good enough, etc., I carried forward for a long time, okay? Even though they're not useful beliefs, okay? So we can either be in problem solver mode or problem creator mode. And this will come back, we'll come back to that in relation to Samantha's comment, okay? Another way of putting it, there's a part of us that operates from fear, there's a part of us that operates from trust. The fear part is trying to keep us safe. It's the reptilian part of the brain, primitive part of the brain, that is scanning the environment for threats, and that's the role of the amygdala, to scan the environment. Is there a threat? Okay. Is there something that's going to be a threat to my survival? Okay. And that can be useful to have that mode, but that mode, we know the amygdala can become overdeveloped. I've told the story before. A friend of mine, his brother was in the army, did active service in Northern Ireland, where there was lots of troubles between the sections of the Northern Irish community and the British armed forces who were there. And he was walking down a country lane in Wales, and a car backfired, and my friend looked around, and his brother had disappeared, and he dived over a hedge because it was a natural instinct that sound, he thought it was gunshot. Okay, so there's that fear part of us. There's that, and that fear part can become overdeveloped. But we also have a part of us that operates from trust. People call it the higher self, the wise self, the authentic self. Okay, and we can develop that part of ourselves. So I used to be very much operating from fear. I learned to operate from a place of trust. Okay. The other thing we need to consider is that our unprocessed emotions, for example, let's say someone's experiencing unfair treatment, and actually I've been experiencing some unfair treatment in the last few days, and so I am, part of me at times has been dwelling on this issue because it hasn't been resolved, okay? And that can drive anxiety, worry, looping thoughts, okay? And therefore it's important to explore what action we take. Consider that resisting, trying to push away our thoughts, doesn't always work, as Samantha shared, okay? It's a bit like a rubber duck pushing it underwater. It pushes back, it jumps back out at us, all right? So we need to look at some strategies Okay, so first strategy is number one, to embrace neuroplasticity, the notion that whatever we practice, we get good at. So we don't need to blame ourselves if we recognize that we've been practicing things that aren't very helpful. Okay, it's really important that we have, I talked about this last week, radical self-compassion, and also take radical responsibility as far as we can to change our experience. So it's like committing to go to the gym. You're committing to go to the mental gym. Okay, consider like the athlete who commits to getting up every day at 6:30, going training. Okay, you may recognize, like I did, that I learned to get really good at some things that weren't very helpful, like anxiety, self-doubt, okay, being self-critical. But if you can be really good at those things, you can also learn to be really good at confidence and calm and self-belief, all right, and being self-supportive, all right. It does take work, okay. I've been there. First, when I started learning these techniques, I thought, wow, I've got a mountain to climb. All right, it felt like quite a big task. But just like going to the gym, you have to do the reps, okay? And I managed to shift that from being much less negative to much more constructive, let's say, not just plastically positive, all right? Second thing is I invite you to get really curious. Consider, when did you not do looping? When did you not do worrying? For example, what happens to your looping thoughts, etc.? Suddenly when someone calls you up and it's a friend and you get engrossed in that conversation, what happens to your anxiety? Let me know in the chat, okay? When you're just totally present, listening to this person, engaged in that conversation, okay? So third strategy is that it's important to get out of your head. Okay, so if your capacity for physical activity is limited, then consider what else you can do. So, for example, I made a video on exercises to stimulate your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is what's responsible for helping those neural networks that we were talking about earlier get back online. Okay, so when we stimulate the vagus nerve, then we've got greater capacity to connect with that wise part of us that can think in more rational ways. So rather than try and address the thoughts, we're actually focusing on shifting our state. Okay, so you can do that via somatic experiencing, grounded exercise, really simple things like just tapping your arms, just feeling your physical body, which actually doing this actually helps your blood flow. Okay, I was watching a video where the woman was talking about just squeezing your muscles, okay, and that again helps the blood flow. Doing that all around your body, okay, down the outside, up the inside, just connecting down the legs, up the inside of the legs, just your back as well, just connecting with your physical body. You can practice breath work. I have shared, I've created a PDF with various exercises that you can do. If you'd like that, comment breath below. You can do body scans, for instance, closing your eyes and just focusing on your feet, just gently tensing the muscle, then relaxing it, and work all the way up your body, your ankle, your calf, your knee, the muscles around your hip bones, same on the other leg. You can work your way all up your body, down your arms, up into your neck, head, just tensing the muscles and relaxing them. If you can do some movement, do as much as you can without pushing beyond your current limits. Whether that's doing yoga, qigong. I found doing qigong really helpful when I was particularly poorly. I would just do it for 1 minute. Again, I made a video on that. Do check out my YouTube channel. Fourth strategy is to redirect. So what do I mean by that? Well, number one, just recognizing that in this moment you can just focus on the past. So one person, I think Alan was saying that he's Let's just look at his comment again, what he was saying. Yeah, what if I don't recover? That's going into the future. When we do that, we're not in the present, okay? So we could just take a breath, say, let's just focus on being in the present right now, okay? So another way of doing that is just practice being the witness, the observer of your experience. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we connect to that wise part of you, okay? That part of you has the capacity for what I call supervision, the capacity to spot patterns. I share a simple strategy called flip the switch, which is a way of accessing that part of you. If you'd like that PDF, comment flip below and I'll share the link. So when you access that part of yourself, you've got greater capacity just to observe, to notice. So you could recognize that part of you that is doing that looping behavior, okay? You could actually name that part. One of my colleagues, Mind Body Reconnect trainers, practitioners called Helen, decided to call that part, I can't remember the name, it was either something like Wally, but she called it Wally the Wanker, all right, which made me laugh. But I, might be a little bit more compassionate to myself than that part of me. So I might call that part of me Scared Simon, okay, as opposed to Wise Simon, okay. And I might speak to that part. I might say, hello, Scared Simon. Thanks for trying to keep me safe. It's okay. I've got this. I'm going to take care of you. I'd like you to consider that wise part of you can take care of the part that's doing the worry, the anxious thought, okay? And that's something you can practice. I teach a technique on my course called the See It method, and it's all about learning to take care of that part. And people, when they do that exercise, they find it helps them release that emotion. They feel more calm, more relaxed. So I talked earlier that we can energize our thoughts or we can diffuse them. So another way of doing that is kind of taking the mindful approach, noticing our thoughts, okay, and just noticing, I'm having a thought. I can pop that thought on a cloud. I can let it float off. And I can come back to my breath, breathing in, breathing out. Oh, look, I've had another thought. I'm going to pop it on a cloud, let it float off. Come back to my breath, breathing in, breathing out. And sometimes I've tasked myself when I was feeling particularly anxious to be really intentional. I might spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes, just say, right, one time when I had really bad flu, this was in 2009 when we had swine flu, I missed Christmas, and I realised I was just really stressing, and I just thought, right, for half an hour, twice a day, I'm just going to say this is a holiday from any of those thoughts about worrying about getting back to work, etc. I'm just going to let myself relax. I'm just going to focus on breathing in, breathing out. Okay, you can keep it really simple. I do this little exercise on my fingers. So I'm focusing on my little finger that's maybe on my lap. And as I breathe in, I press down on my little finger. I say a word to myself, peace. As I breathe out, I say another word, like love. Okay, this is called a time out relaxation. Again, if you'd like that technique, comment time below. And I would just practice that exercise. And it's a way of, when I did that in a really intentional way, I would get into a deep state of relaxation. So I invite you to do that, even if it's just for a minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, okay? To be intentional, decide that for this amount of time, you're just going to practice doing this little exercise or something similar. Other ways of redirecting is to think about, well, what can you do that will get you into a state of flow? This is where you get lost in something. For some people it's knitting or doing art. For me it's playing the piano or guitar or playing the drums. So let me know, what is something that you know that you can get lost in, all right? Might be just watching a movie, okay? Another practice is orienting, where you're just practicing noticing things around you and just giving them your attention, noticing the colour, the shape. I can see a photograph on the wall there. I can just focus on see the silhouettes of people. So it's just a simple exercise you can do. Really focus on things you can see, focus on sounds that you can hear, notice physical sensations. So I might do 3 of each. I might notice 3 things. First of all, I'll focus on that picture. Then I'll focus on my birthday calendar on the wall, which I forget to look at. Then I'll focus on a picture that my mum gave me of kids, probably looks like they're in the early 20th century. Just notice what I notice when I look at that picture in some detail. Maybe I'll get it for you. I think it's a picture of kids in Liverpool, where my mum's from. So if I really look at that picture and notice what I notice. Okay, that little girl over there looks like she's wearing little slippers. That little kid looks like he's picking his nose over there. Where is it? So just give that my attention. 3 things that I see, 3 sounds that I hear. Just listen for 3 sounds. One, then another. If I can't hear a sound, I might imagine a sound that I like the sound of a waterfall or the sound of the waves against the shore. And then 3 physical sensations. I can feel my socks on my feet. I can feel my jeans on my legs. I can feel my shirt on my back, my collar. So Samantha says, I'm in Liverpool. Oh, fantastic. So I'd have to know now, Samantha, which religion you are, Reds or Blues. Let me know if that's relevant. So, orienting, just focusing on things that you see, sounds you hear, physical sensations. Okay. 5th strategy, okay, is reframing. Okay, so red, good to know. My mum's from Liverpool as well, so we're a Liverpool family. So consider that we can reframe the way we respond to our thoughts. And just to say, I've made lots of other videos on this, so do check out my kind of dealing with anxiety playlist. But consider when you have an anxious thought, a looping thought, you could say, oh no, or you could just say, oh, okay. All right, okay, I'm having this thought. I don't need to try and make it go away. I can just observe it. I can just let it be. Just consider that our reaction to our thoughts can escalate those feelings of anxiety. If we just think, oh, okay, I'm having a thought about such and such. Again, I can pop it on a cloud. I can let it float off. All right. So we're diffusing our thoughts. We're not pouring gasoline. Oh no, I'm having that thought. That's really bad that I'm having a thought. The more that we can practice just noticing the thought without a reaction, the better we get at that. Okay. And I have talked about this before in those other videos. So do check out my other videos on anxiety if that's something that you feel would be helpful to explore further. Okay, there's lots of free content on my YouTube channel, lots of playlists on different topics. Excuse me. Next way of reframing is to consider possibilities. Often when we're thinking about the negative scenario, we're excluding the neutral possibility or the positive possibility. So going back to what Alan was mentioning, thinking, what if I don't recover? Essentially, you're saying, oh, when you're saying what if I don't recover, you're essentially saying, I won't recover. Okay, you're making a prediction. How come some people recover, other people don't? Well, what would be more useful to consider? Well, maybe I could recover. Maybe I can make progress. Okay, what would that be like if you just said, okay, thank you for asking that question, Scared Simon, but it is also possible that you could recover. And let's look at what might help you recover. Okay, so we've got to we tend to exclude possibilities and focus on the negative. So start considering that there are other options. Okay, consider what is your default mode up until now. Has it been to make those negative predictions? If so, this is an opportunity to start rewiring your brain by changing the way you think, catching those thoughts and say, actually, let's have a different thought here. And the other way of reframing is you could do some visualizations, listen to some guided relaxations. Again, I've got some free guided relaxations, which is an opportunity just to have a break from your thoughts. If you find that, if you like those, just put the word guided and I will share that link. Okay. Now the sixth strategy is going back to what I was saying earlier. Sometimes it's our emotions that drive our excuse me, our emotions that drive our anxious thinking. So it's important to address our emotions. Okay, that means making sense of our emotions. What is it I'm feeling? Am I feeling upset because I've been treated unfairly? Okay, if so, what action do I need to take? All right, and this is something, it's very interesting. I've been teaching people this concept called this approach called the mind body reconnect, and a lot of the work we do is looking at what is the body trying to communicate to us. Okay, because that's how your emotional brain communicates, via emotions, symptoms and sensations. So it's important to make sense of those communications, okay, and to take appropriate action. Okay, so love to know what your takeaway is. What is one thing you could take away from this video? Let me know in the chat. And if you're on the call, let me know where you are from. I know Samantha's from Liverpool. Excuse me. And I'd like to know, as I say, I'd be interested to hear from you. When do you not have those worrying, looping thoughts? What's going on then? What are some examples of that? So, I have started this little mini course because someone asked, have you got a free course? And I've been posting videos every Monday. I've done the third video on Monday. The next video, this coming Monday, I'm going to explore the topic of breaking patterns. So this follows on from what we've talked about today. And I'll share what I consider to be a really vital aspect of recovery. The mindset shift that helped me break patterns and made a huge difference to my body's capacity to heal. So if you'd like to watch that video, if you haven't done, do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, then you'll be notified when I release videos. If you'd like more support, then do join my Facebook group. I'll put the link below this video straight after I finish this video. Follow me on TikTok or Instagram. I'm generally more active on TikTok. I say, if you're watching on YouTube, just hit the notification and the subscribe button. Now, a couple of comments. Kathy says, hi, I'm from Germany. Thank you for the encouragement. You are welcome, Kathy. Okay. And Samantha says, I'll be using these tools to help me. We'll definitely be working on self-compassion. That's really important. Okay. We want to put these tools in our toolbox. One is the capacity for radical self-compassion. Okay. So just to let you know, I've had a number of requests for starting up the resilience group coaching. This is weekly coaching. You can join for a month, and I have a scale where you can pay what you can afford within a scale. So if you'd like more information about that, put the word group in the chat. Okay, So, I had a few people say, oh, it'd be great if you could start doing that again. I had a break for a while. If you do want help, as I say, there's lots of free content on my YouTube channel. Check it out. If you do want more help now, then I'm always happy to have a chat with you. Just comment chat below and we can explore that further. So, Samantha says group. I will share the link with you. Dare to dream big dreams, okay? Keep going. You've got this. Practice, practice, practice those things that you know to be helpful. Wishing you great health. Connect to that part of you that is wise. It is there. It's like the blue sky. It's always there, okay? We just need to practice connecting to that part. So keep going. Wishing you great health. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.